Have you ever found yourself giving everything to a relationship, but still feel empty or unsatisfied? Do you find it difficult to set boundaries with loved ones, afraid they might react poorly or the boundaries might push them away? Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same type of unhealthy relationships or relationship dynamics and patterns? Do you feel more confident, better, and more whole when you're in a relationship? If any of those questions resonate with you, then this episode is going to help you develop a healthier relationship with yourself and a healthier relationship with others. Welcome to The Simple Source, your source for all things self-love, self-healing, personal growth, and spirituality. I'm your host, Linda Valines. I used to be chronically sick and unhappy. I spent years trying anything and everything to heal, but I never got better. It wasn't until my late husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer that I finally stopped searching for the answers outside of myself and turned within. I taught myself how to truly love and heal myself, how to finally be authentically healthy and happy, mind, body, and soul. I have over 10 years of personal and professional self-healing and teaching experience. I'm a trauma-informed, certified holistic health and wellness coach, certified Ayurveda counselor, and author. I healed myself of a lifetime of complex traumas and chronic conditions with joy and ease. Now I'm teaching you to do the same. So if you're ready to heal and love yourself more, mind, body, and soul, without all the struggle and stress, and with more joy and productivity, join me to liberate your highest, healthiest, and happiest self and learn how to thrive more simply. Let's get started with today's episode. Relationships are one of the biggest vehicles for growth in life, but if you do not have a healthy relationship with yourself, then you will not be able to fully grow in your relationship with other people. So today, that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about why cultivating unconditional self-love transforms not just your relationship with yourself, but your external relationships and creates a more authentic and empowered and fulfilling life. So a listener sent me a question, which is a great question, and that's why I'm going to elaborate on it today. They asked, why can't you truly love someone else fully without loving yourself? And that question is relevant to everyone because it reflects the most common relational issues, which are codependency and insecure attachment, which are like kind of one and the same thing, but I mean, we'll discuss them differently. So we're all conditioned from a very young age, whether that's from our parents and caregivers or through society or culture, to be codependent and insecure unless we're in a relationship. We're conditioned to believe that relationships, or rather, more specifically, that someone else makes us whole, that someone else validates us, that someone else validates our existence, our worth, our lovability, our enoughness, our goodness, all of that. Now, I'm a recovering codependent. Here I am holding my hand up, and also recovering from anxious attachment because my parents are codependent and I wasn't raised with healthy attunement or healthy individuation or with healthy modeling of what healthy relationship with self and others was. My parents are codependent because their parents were codependent, and so they didn't have healthy modeling of what healthy relationship with self and others was, and so on and so on. And that's generational trauma. That's collective shadow. That's how the wounds of our ancestors and lineage become our wounds. And the example of love and relationship in my home growing up was hostile. It was unsafe, it was criticizing, controlling, and it was conditional. Then the example of love and relationship from pop culture was also idealized, also codependent. And so I was never taught, nor did I really see that love could be secure and safe, because we live in a society where most people are unconsciously operating from their wounds. That means most people are just projecting their insecurities, projecting their unresolved fears and traumas, projecting their unprocessed, unfelt emotions, and reacting from their wounded selves. And we're also so conditioned to believe that we're not enough on our own, that we're not lovable on our own, that we're not worthy on our own, that we are not whole on our own. Like someone else completes us. Now that is, sure, that's a very romantic notion, but in real life, it's codependent and it's unhealthy, and it leads to all sorts of issues in relationships, not only with ourselves, but with other people. And we also learn, we're conditioned, we see it all the time. We learn to people please, we learn to self-abandon, we learn to shapeshift, and we learn to conform to unchallenged standards that encourage us to settle, to make ourselves small, and to glorify putting other people's needs above our own. And so we relate to others in an unhealthy manner, in a manner that is constantly seeking validation for our existence and our worth and our wholeness and our lovability. Because again, we're not taught to validate ourselves. We're not taught to love ourselves. We're not taught that we are enough and worthy and whole and lovable all on our own. We're not taught that our existence matters all by itself. And we're also not taught how to unconditionally love ourselves. So we're not only not taught how to love ourselves, but we're also not taught how to unconditionally love ourselves. Okay, I got there. Or how to be in a healthy relationship with ourselves, which is fundamentally based in unconditional self-love. So then relationship with other people become prioritized. Other people's love becomes more important than the love we have for ourselves. Other people's opinions becomes more important than the opinion we have of ourselves. So then, of course, those unhealthy relationships that we have, that we engage in, give energy to, and stay in are unhealthy, they're codependent, and the love is insecure, and the love is conditional, even if it is like unconditional. If it's codependent, then it's transactional, which means it is like there are conditions to it. And so because that relationship is simply a reflection of the relationship that you have with yourself, and the relationship you have with yourself is fundamentally shaped by whether or not you feel love for yourself, and whether or not you feel love for yourself is shaped by whether or not you feel lovable enough, whole, and worthy as you are. I hope that made sense. So if you don't, which is most people, unfortunately, then that sense of lovability, enoughness, wholeness, worthiness, goodness is dependent on something or someone outside of you. And then you're in a codependent relationship. And then that relationship is transactional. That relationship serves to validate you or to prove your lovability or enoughness or wholeness or worthiness or identity, etc. And that's all happening on a subconscious level. No one on the conscious level is being like, I'm going to choose you so you can validate me, and then I'm going to validate you. No one is thinking that. It's all super subconscious, where those attachment and relational wounds and traumas reside. But again, if you listen to my subconscious episode, which I hope you did, our subconscious controls 95% of our reality. So, dun dun dun, that's why if you don't love yourself, then you cannot truly love another, because we cannot give what we do not have. If you don't possess genuine love for yourself, because the love you have for yourself is conditional and it's influenced by unhealed wounds and unprocessed and unhealed fears and traumas and emotions, then that is the quality of love that you're going to give. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to love unconditionally. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to love deeply and fiercely or loyally or truly. It means that the love is limited by the limits of the love that you have for yourself, because that is the love that you are always projecting. So you can't operate from low self-worth, which is the root of codependency, and have healthy relationships with mutually interdependent, healthy love, because you're always going to be settling for less. You're always going to be seeking external validation. You're always going to be giving and doing more than you need, because you're always going to be attracting people who are a match to your low self-worth. You're always going to be ruled by that fear that you're not enough as you are, that you're not lovable as you are, that you're not a good person as you are, and that you're not whole all on your own. And that's why people self-abandon and end up in relationship with people who don't meet their needs, who are not aligned with their authentic selves, who don't serve their highest good. That's why so many people think that unhealthy relationship dynamics are normal. So if you're scared of being alone because you don't know how to love yourself, you don't know how to validate yourself, you don't feel enough or whole all on your own, you're going to settle for what your wounded self, who those unresolved fears and traumas and beliefs belong to, you're going to settle for what your wounded self believes you deserve, which is not that much. So you're going to stay in unhealthy or misaligned relationships for too long. You're going to try to prove over and over again that you are enough to be chosen, to be loved. You're going to sacrifice your needs. You're going to sacrifice your dreams or your values, your integrity for someone else, or to be in a relationship. You're also going to try to control your relationships and or the people in your relationships, because you want to avoid being alone. You want to avoid feeling insecure or avoid other negative feelings and outcomes, because you don't feel in control of yourself. You don't feel in control of your world because you have unresolved fears and traumas rooted in attachment wounds, meaning you feel insecure in relationship with another. You don't feel in control when you're in relationship with another, whether or not that lack of control is like within yourself or within your world. So when you have unresolved fears and traumas, you can't really co-create a truly healthy, secure, conscious, and interdependent relationship, because those unresolved fears and traumas are running the show. They're running you. They're running how you show up in relationship. So that's why your relationship with yourself determines your relationship with others. That's why true, healthy love starts with true and healthy love with yourself. Because when you endeavor to love yourself, what you're doing is you're endeavoring to heal your relationship with yourself. And in that healing of that relationship with yourself, you learn to feel safe and secure within yourself. You learn to trust yourself. You learn to take care of your own needs. You learn to identify your own needs. You learn to prioritize yourself. You stop self-abandoning. You stop people-pleasing, because all of that is innately not self-loving. And when you start to develop that healthy and unconditionally self-loving relationship with yourself, inevitably, your relationship dynamics externally are also going to change, because they're naturally going to start reflecting that greater degree of self-love and self-empowerment and self-support. And you're going to start to settle less. You're going to start to see how certain people in your life are misaligned, or you're going to start identifying those unhealthy relationship dynamics and how you are codependent and how you are needing and seeking external validation. All of that stuff is going to become more and more clear as you nurture that relationship with yourself, as you learn to love yourself unconditionally and start to feel genuine and authentic and deep and unyielding love for yourself. So if you want healthier, more aligned, more blissful and passionate and life-enriching and soul-satisfying relationships that don't require you to settle and self-abandon, then you have to prioritize learning how to love yourself unconditionally first. How we love ourselves determines how we love other people. And so when that love that you create and you foster for yourself becomes more and more pure and freer, because you have liberated yourself from those unresolved fears and traumas and unprocessed and unreleased emotions, and that, let me be clear, it doesn't just automatically happen because you start loving yourself unconditionally. I'm just saying, as you start to love yourself unconditionally, naturally, you're going to want to start resolving your fears and your traumas and processing and releasing those unprocessed emotions, because you understand all that shit is actually holding you back. It's keeping you from feeling love for yourself. It's keeping you from being in love with yourself and with life. And so by default, well, let's not be too ambitious. So hopefully then you start to invest and commit to resolving your traumas. And when you have unconditional love for yourself, or rather when you start to practice unconditional love for yourself, and then you endeavor to do the deeper healing work, like resolving your traumas and doing the subconscious healing work with, your inner child and shadow, etc., you're so much more prepared to do that depth and that degree of healing work, which is just heavier, because you have that foundation of unconditional love that is going to support you in moving through all of that heaviness and discomfort and pain in a way that is more secure and is more safe, because you feel safe and secure in yourself. And that's one of the reasons that unconditional self-love is foundational to my healing approach, and why it's at the very beginning of my program, because it's so foundational for a genuine and productive and authentic healing journey. So just take a moment to think about your current or your past relationships. What role does your relationship with yourself play in shaping those connections? And another important question to ask yourself is what your relationships would look like if you fully loved and accepted yourself. How would your relationships change? How would your relationships improve, more specifically? So here's your action step for the week. Ask yourself, these are more questions. These are great questions to be asking yourself, though. And they do result, when you answer these questions for yourself, the consequence of you understanding those parts of yourself is going to incite some sort of positive or healing action. So ask yourself, how is your relationship with yourself being mirrored in your relationship with other people? Like, for instance, what are you expecting other people to give or do for you that you are unwilling to give or do for yourself? How are you expecting other people to validate you? So once you open yourself up to becoming aware of recognizing the answers to those questions, meaning you ask those questions with loving curiosity and remain open to seeing and experiencing the answers to that, then you are now so much more empowered to not only improve your relationship with yourself, but you're so much more empowered to improve your relationship with other people because you have just taken a really substantial step towards detaching from that codependent relational dynamic and model that is so reinforced over and over and over again. And then you can start being truly interdependent and conscious and more self-supportive and more self-loving in all of your relationships. And that's naturally going to result in a more joyful and productive healing journey, but also a more joyful and fulfilling life. Thank you so much for joining me today in The Simple Source. I hope this episode has inspired you, reminded you of your healing power, and reawakened you to who your true and highest self is. If the show has empowered and enlightened your self-love, growth, and healing journey, please share this episode, leave a positive review on Apple or Spotify, and subscribe to be reminded of new episodes. I am so grateful for your presence, and all of your comments and your support are seen and read and deeply appreciated. They really do help this show so much. Also, sign up for my newsletter, The Weekly Source, to get more healing tips, motivation stories, and to get to know me better. And if you haven't read my book, Unconditional, You Are Perfect As You Are, I invite you to get your copy today and start reading. And lastly, I would love to see you inside my Source membership, the only holistic and comprehensive step-by-step self-healing program that is proven to work. It's time to stop struggling to heal and time to learn how to thrive more simply and joyfully. All the links are in the show notes. Thanks again for joining me today, and I will see you next time.